Hello, everybody, and it's a Wednesday, which is normally a slow day, but we got the boss with us, Sean Miller. Sean, how are you, buddy?
Oh yeah, I'm doing pretty well. How's it going? Yeah, just here to fill in the spot for my guy Matt. So
Absolutely, Matt's a good boy.
and we got some big news. We got Joe Wiz coming on right after us here.
Right, that's a double header.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely, and Joe's obviously a fun guy to be around, and we hope that you hang with us. Joe's a great guy. He is going to give you a lot of good information. Hopefully, we can help you out too. Speaking of that, two teams that have faced each other 5 times. Ohio State's won three, Miami's won two. And honestly, it started in 1979. They don't like each other. And this might very well be a fun game in regard to what goes. I think, honestly, and Sean, you tell me what you think, it's really for this one, this boils down to two good defenses, two good offensive and defensive lines. Which one is really the best?
Yeah, I know we're big in Florida here, and everyone might be talking about Miami, but I honestly just think this is going to be an ugly game. I think Ohio State wins this pretty handily.
Mm-hmm.
I you don't want to ruin everybody's bracket, and give
Right.
everybody, I give everybody my picks down the road. But
Right.
to be honest with you, my thoughts are, the winner of Ohio State and Georgia in a potential semifinal will,
Mm-hmm.
winner of that game is the team that's going to win the title. So I think Ohio State's too good. This guy, Carnell Tate has become a
Mm-hmm.
monster. I just don't know if Beck is good enough to score enough points against this defense to stay in the game. Just watching that game, the last one, that terrible
Mm-hmm.
10-3 game, or 10 whatever it was.
The
Uh,
one at Texas A&M.
yeah, whatever. I know it was under 40, under 20 points. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I just think, uh, of all the teams that have that are playing here,
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State has the highest, or really the second highest odds to get to the semifinal. Second highest. Indiana is the highest, 84%. Ohio's 80%, on a 51% chance to get to the final, and the highest odds to win it. Excuse me. So,
Mm-hmm.
23-year revenge. They're saying. I don't know. I don't
Well,
see it. Ohio State is really, really good, and
they
I,
are. They
I
are.
they're
You
the
know, I'm sorry. I was just going to say this is a good clip for our AI here. Um, the way I look at it is this: Ohio State actually might have a better defense this year than the defense they had when they won the national championship last year. They're faster. They can get in on the quarterback. They don't have to blitz the quarterback. They've got four guys that can get there. They have a killer's group of linebackers. And if anything we've seen um, out of Carson Beck in Miami is when Carson Beck is, has to move around a little bit and gets happy feet, he tends to throw the ball where he's not supposed to throw it. And that's a bad sign for Miami.
I don't think that he's got, the Ohio State defense,
Mhm.
obviously, half the, I think they had 5 players on first team, 5 or 6
Yeah.
actually. And, really shut down Fernando Mendoza in that game.
Hmm.
They only had 13 points. They did, Ohio State only scored 10, but,
Right.
I don't see how Miami is going to be able to score enough points to hang in this game. Maybe I'm wrong here, but I just don't see it. I think this is the easiest of all 4 games to call.
Hmm.
To be honest with you, and Miami, showed they were supposed to be in. I guess with that win, but
Right.
we'll see if we'll see if they're in the game. If they're in the game at halftime, then maybe they got a chance. But I'm not even sure they're going to be in the game.
Well, they're going to have to be able to run, and that's where if they can run the ball, they might be able to stay close because that way Beck can do some play action stuff. But it really is a line of scrimmage for them more than anything with regard to can they block well enough to get the running game going, and can they block well enough to protect Carson Beck? If they can't do one of those two things, it's going to be a long night for Miami. That's for sure. All right, let's go down. Speaking of Miami, let's go down to the Orange Bowl. And this is a good clip here, I'll tell you. The Orange Bowl, which is not spelled right, by the way. We'll just leave it out for the moment. Oregon takes on, of course, Texas Tech team. And Texas Tech definitely used the portal and the NIL money to put together one hell of a team. But that being said, what do you think of the Cotton Bowl with regards to can Texas Tech beat Oregon? I mean, we've seen Oregon. Oregon's played well. They tend to play well in big games, and Texas Tech hasn't been there in a while.
Yeah, I think this is probably, maybe the opposite of the first game, whereas this game is probably the game that's closest to a toss-up. Obviously, by the odds and the line, clearly that's the case. But not just by that, I just think you could make a decent case for either team here, and obviously in the 4 or 5 game, that's usually going to be the case, no matter if it's this or college basketball or whatever.
Sure.
So, Texas Tech, they've had a really good season. Oregon last year came into this game and unbeaten, and then got blown out on the way to Ohio State beat them on the way to the title. But it's a really tough game. I think Oregon is going to get it done here. I think Oregon has a pretty good chance to get to the title game because, obviously I think on the other side of the bracket, Indiana and this side of the bracket with Indiana and the other side of the bracket with Georgia and Ohio State, I think people would argue that even though Indiana is unbeaten and beat Ohio State, I think you could argue the other side of the bracket is tougher.
Sure.
I think the difference in this game is going to come down to the quarterback, and if Dante Moore is this his last game?
Regardless of what happens,
whenever he, or is he going to come back? If they, if Oregon goes and wins the title, he's definitely probably going to go. If he comes back, Ohio State. The Ohio State game, pass game will be the key. Thank you, Jerry. I think the pass game here, Oregon ranks 5th nationally in success rate and first in percentage of plays gaining at least 20 yards. They're going to be able to move the ball. Tech's defense ranks 3rd in both those, but I think I'd rather have an offense that can average big plays here in these games. You're going to need to make some big plays. Excuse me. And, I don't know if I totally trust Texas Tech's offense. The line is moved towards Oregon despite the computers favoring Texas Tech. I think Oregon wins the game.
Yeah, I think the way I look at it is this: Oregon has faced a much tougher, trek to getting to the playoffs than Texas Tech has. So I think Oregon wins the game, and I do think that this has the potential of being a close game. But as I say, I think the reason Oregon wins this game is the strength of the competition Oregon has played versus strength of competition of Texas Tech. I don't think Texas Tech has played a team that has been as fast or has had as many game breakers as Oregon has.
I think that's I just lean towards Oregon. I think they've been a better team over the last couple of years here.
Well, Dan Lanning's been phenomenal out there at Oregon. He's been recruiting his rear end off, and he's got some incredible kids out there. Texas Tech, to their credit, spent a ton of NIL money and created a good team, but we just don't know how good. Guess we'll find out tomorrow. And a small rant here. I used to enjoy watching I used to enjoy watching the Orange Bowl at night. Right after the Rose Bowl, and you go to Don Crickey and away we go. I really dislike the fact that they put the Cotton Bowl on tonight. They put the Orange Bowl at noon, 1 o'clock tomorrow. That to me, they could have easily taken the Orange Bowl and put it on tonight, and then put.
I thought they should have had 2 games today because no one's everybody. I'm just sitting here. I'm like, I'm watching replays of the darts. You know what? I wanted to see if I could get our guy Patrick on here. And talk about the darts because we're into the quarterfinals. But I'm just sitting here watching the highlights of these, the replays of the darts. And there's nothing else on. I'm watching some hockey game. I don't even know. It's the Panthers and the Predators and the Golden Knights or something. I don't even know if it's live or not. It's on ESPN. It
can't be live because Panthers and the Rangers are going to play on the 2nd, and that's going to be the Winter Classic.
When is that?
That's on the 2nd, the Winter Classic. And by the way, it's being played in Miami. This will be the first time the Winter Classic has ventured into areas where it's not going to be able to, keeping that ice from going sloshy on them is going to be interesting.
Yeah, that always gets tough.
Yeah. Talk about tough slug.
I should have taught. You know what? I should have thought about this and had our guy Patrick McKiernan come on because if you've been following on Sports Talk Florida, we have a whole dart section now, and he does snooker as well. So we the darts is coming to the quarterfinals now, and it's not as big here, but it's pretty big all
over in Europe.
Yeah, it's pretty big. And it's it's on Peacock, so it must be getting big over here. So I know darts is big here. I know a lot of people play darts in leagues and stuff at that level, but it is what it is.
I really don't know how to play snooker. I wouldn't. It's a little.
Snooker is you got to hit this one ball first, and then you can hit the other ball, and then you can hit the other ball. You got to knock all the balls are either red or colored, and each colored ball is worth like something. I kind of watch it. Anytime I go over to England, I watch all these random things, the ICC cricket and snooker, and I don't know. I keep telling them to just watch
cricket. I understand, but snooker, I'll have to figure that one out. All right, let's go to the Rose Bowl. Now, the Rose Bowl is number 1 Indiana against Alabama. And we'll see how good Indiana really is. And Alabama didn't really play well until the last game or two of the season.
Well, Florida State beat them, and that should have probably disqualified them from the playoffs.
A bad loss. This is just an aside. For years, the Rose Bowl was played at 5:00 Eastern Time, 2:00 out on the West Coast, and the reason for that is that the Rose Parade and the Rose Bowl are only about a mile and a half apart. So if you have 250,000 people in Pasadena, which isn't that big of a town to begin with, and you've got 90,000 people that want to go to a football game, you have to leave on Tuesday to make that work. And so they moved the game to 1 o'clock Eastern. I'm sorry, 1 o'clock Pacific time, 4 o'clock Eastern time. So that 1 hour move is going to make for a very interesting traffic jam in Pasadena on tomorrow afternoon. I'm happy I'm not there this year.
It might rain too, which
Yeah,
is crazy because it doesn't usually
that
rain.
doesn't help. Yeah.
It doesn't usually rain. This game. Man, everyone's all.
Where's the money going? I'm thinking Indiana's going to get disrespected here.
I think so, but I just don't know how good Alabama is either. 3 losses. Indiana's been really, really good. They've been able to score on everybody. Even Ohio State's defense, they found a way to get enough points to win the games. Indiana's really good on third down. They have the Heisman. I know Alabama's played a lot of good teams, and they've won some pretty good games. They're 4-1 in one-score games. But it's amazing. It's amazing that we're talking about Indiana being the behemoth in this game and not
and not Alabama. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just what happens when Kirk comes up and takes the team to new heights. I mean, this is new for Indiana. I mean, it's not new that they're in championship games. It's just usually basketball, not.
And last year, the ones he lost in this round, obviously Oregon. We talked about that. If there's an upset, obviously this would be an upset. But even though you're talking about Alabama beating Indiana, 2 years ago, if you would have said that's an upset, that people would have laughed at you.
Right. So
I think
the money on Indiana.
I think everybody's rooting for Indiana. I would say, and Signetti, and I guess. I mean, I don't know. I don't. I'm not a.
Well, yeah. I mean, most people, most people in college football either hate Alabama or they love Alabama. There's no real in between there. So I think the Indiana's getting a lot of love from a lot of haters of Alabama.
Well, I would say this. If we have Ohio State, Oregon, and Indiana in the semifinals, and the only other game is, it has to be an SEC team because it's two SEC teams playing.
Right.
That would be pretty interesting for the Big Ten.
Yeah.
It's the big, and we gotta change these names at some point. Like, how can it be the Big Ten? It's like
the Big 25, right?
Yeah, come on. I Indiana should win the game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Let's go
this SP plus game, SP plus projections. And I don't, once again, data is data, but has 31.4 to 18.2. That's a 13-point gap. I mean, if they're 2 touchdowns, if that's a 2 touchdown gap, Indiana should find a way to win the game. Like, they'll be able to score enough points. But, once again, Alabama's been there. Indiana, bar for the game last year hasn't.
Well, that brings us to the night game, which is as we said before, this one is a all SEC affair. Ole Miss and Georgia. Georgia's no stranger to these kind of games. Ole Miss without Lane Kiffin and the boys, it's going to be an interesting situation to see how they survive, because Georgia, Kirby Smart this time of year is a pretty damn good coach.
Yeah, and it's interesting. The whole thing with Mississippi right now, and kind of look at the.
I mean, they beat Tulane
Mine.
41-10 in the first round. And, the coach at the moment is their defensive coordinator, Pete Golding. Um, so we'll see. But uh, Ole Miss and Georgia, I think, two strong SEC teams. I, I just, it's kind of like Patrick Mahomes in the NFL. I don't like going against Kirby Smart in Georgia. Um,
It's interesting
they're
because
just too good.
the projections, I just told you about that. I don't even know
Hmm.
what this SP plus is, to be honest with you. And I'm a numbers person from soccer, but the line DraftKings has a 31.0 to 24.5, which is why Georgia is a 6.5 point favorite.
Hmm.
This SP plus Georgia 27.1, Ole Miss 26.8. So basically dead even game. And these two teams are basically really, really close statistically. So, I don't know. I mean, basically what the preview says is, if they can knock Georgia off schedule every now and then, they'll be in decent shape. Well, yeah, I mean, Ole Miss, look, the whole thing, they're going to feel like disrespected. Their coach left them, for LSU, who just lost, and blah, blah, blah,
Hmm.
and all this. I mean, sometimes teams like that circle the wagons and they're really tough to beat in these situations.
Hmm.
So I would say, this has the possibility to be a very interesting game going into the fourth quarter. I don't think Georgia's going to walk. This is
No,
be a walk. Like I think the Ohio State game is going to be tonight.
I agree. This is one of those for AI flagging situations from a clip. I agree with you about that. I think that Ole Miss has a chip on their shoulder, like you said. Like, okay, Kiffin's leaving us. He doesn't think we're good enough to win a national championship, and we can show him. The fact that they're playing an SEC foe in Georgia is something that they're certainly going to know them. Uh, they've seen enough film on them. They've played them, so they know what they're getting into. So I think that's to me, this is of the entire group of games, all four of them. This one might be the closest and might most be the most entertaining.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep. So that's where we go with the Sugar Bowl, Georgia and Ole Miss. So basically, here's the consensus: Ohio State to win over Miami, Oregon to beat Texas Tech, Bama to sneak by Indiana, or Indiana to sneak by Bama, one way or the other, and Georgia to beat Ole Miss and move on. So that's where we are at the moment on this with these bowl games coming up. Um, we have two games in the NFL, which will be fun to watch.
All three, all three
Good.
of the
That's a
well,
good point.
I don't know about the Saturday afternoon game. It might not. It's important. It might not be fun to watch, but
It's a
for all
rock
the people
fight.
on Sports Talk watching on Sports Talk Florida here,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's going to be fun to watch, but it's an important game. But all three of the primetime
Yeah.
games, the two on Saturday,
Hmm.
the 4:30 and the 8 o'clock game, and the
Right.
8:20 game on Sunday are all division title games, which
Hmm.
it they didn't, I when you're trying to figure it out, it could have been four
Yeah.
if the Chargers had won that game.
Hmm.
But the NFL, they were kind of like, this could be an awful weekend, and now all of a sudden, the other games are not good.
Right.
There's no reason to watch. Denver's 12.5 point favorite because the Chargers are sitting everybody. So
Hmm.
Denver's got to win that game. New England's got to win their game to, have any
Hmm.
hope. They're 10.5. Houston's playing Indianapolis. Indianapolis doesn't have any players left.
Hmm.
Jacksonville's got to win. But the three games that are in prime time: Carolina at Tampa, 4:30 on Saturday; Seattle at San Francisco, 8 o'clock on Saturday; and Baltimore at Pittsburgh, 8:20 on Sunday, are all going to be really, really intriguing games. They said, some news came out today. Lamar Jackson, this is the first week since November 9th that he's practiced the whole week. He's been banged up, apparently. This could be Mike Tomlin's last game at Pittsburgh if they lose. Who knows with Aaron Rodgers? Seattle and San Francisco. Look, that's for the top seed in that division. Seattle's got to go to San Francisco. Shanahan's done an unbelievable job. They've had all their injuries, but I guess with all the sports talk Florida people here, everyone watching it, I guess everyone's looking at this.
It's kind of a doom and gloom situation.
Well, it'd be nice if, I know everyone here probably wants Tampa Bay to win, but I mean, geez, it'd be nice to have a team in the playoffs over 500. So, you'd hope Carolina wins, but you can't have, or I don't even know.
No, Carolina can't. Carolina would, I don't know that
Carolina wins. If Carolina wins, they're 9-8.
They're 9-8. Yeah. Now the funny thing is,
Atlanta could be.
There could be a 3-way tie. Okay, if Tampa Bay wins, there could be a 3-way tie. Here's the problem: if Atlanta wins on Sunday to cause that 3-way tie, even if Tampa Bay beats Carolina, Carolina goes.
Yeah, because Atlanta's already eliminated from the playoffs,
right?
Which is crazy. And they play the Saints,
right? So the Saints have been playing well lately.
So if Atlanta wins the game, it doesn't matter. The other game doesn't matter, correct?
The Carolina, like I said, if Atlanta wins, well, they'll know. If Atlanta wins and Carolina loses to Tampa Bay, Carolina still makes the playoffs as the champion of the South.
So it's interesting that they're playing that game. You think they'd put that, I guess that's why they're putting that game first and not the Atlanta game. They really should be playing Atlanta and New Orleans at the same time, to be honest. I mean, these other games would.
Just so one team doesn't have the advantage of knowing what's going to happen.
You got to, if Carolina needs to win the division to not, you can't have an under 500 team in the play. I know you can, but it's just embarrassing.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay, they were 7-2 at one point, right?
They're 1-7 in their last 8 games.
So they're 6-2, and the 2 losses were to the Eagles by a touchdown and the Lions. So respectable at the time because the Lions aren't very good now.
Sure.
Then they lost to the Patriots, which is a respectable loss. The Bills and the Rams, all respectable losses. They're just better than them. Beat the Cardinals. But then you lose to the Saints, the Falcons, the Panthers, and the Dolphins. So, to be honest, I don't, they don't really deserve to be in the playoffs. And the one win over the Cardinals was by a touchdown.
Yeah. Well, if you look at it from that standpoint too, it's kind of a situation where if you're Tampa Bay, you've had a lot of injuries. So has everybody else. But you've blown 3 opportunities to just nail this thing down. You only had to win 1, and they couldn't get one of them done. So
they're going to play. I mean, the winner of this division is going to play, either the 49ers, the Seahawks, or the Rams. All of which might have 12 wins, at least minimum 12 wins. And you're probably. You're gonna host that game, which is
a one and done for whoever won. If Carolina gets it, or if it's Tampa gets it, it's what we call a hat and T-shirt game, right? If you win, you get a hat and a T-shirt. That's about the size of it. You get to host a game, which is nice, but it's a game you're not going to win.
It's a big game. I think it's a big game for the Panthers because
Jason Ellis,
Yeah, but also when you kind of look back at it, the Eagles, when the first year they were in the playoffs, quarterbacks Hurts' first year, they went 9-8, made the playoffs, and then they didn't win a game, but they're in the playoffs. And then the next year they went to the Super Bowl, and they went backwards, and then they won the Super Bowl. But when you're trying to build these teams, right, and this team clearly is trying to build. This is a big game. If they can make the playoffs, and get in, even if they lose going into next year, you'd think they're the favorites for the division, especially now. I mean, make some signings, whatever, good draft. I mean, they had a really good draft last year. So, we'll see. I mean, you from whatever 3 or 4 wins to going 9 and 8, even though you've been outscored by almost 70 points, which is embarrassing. The entire division's been outscored. It's whatever. But it's for the people watching there, it is a big game.
Yeah.
It's not. I might swerve the game, to be honest with you, but I'm definitely going to be watching the next game, that 8:00 game.
Yeah. Can Todd Bowles survive if this?
Nah, I think it's time.
This is a pretty catastrophic loss. If they,
it's not. It's like, I mean, let me just take a look here.
I think that you look at it and you go, look, is Todd Bowles a good defensive coordinator? The answer to that question is yes. Is he the best kind of head coach? No. You might be able to make this case, and that is that they changed offensive coordinators for the 3rd time. The kid that they brought in, that they promoted from quarterbacks to OC and play caller, this is his first year, and maybe, even though he knows the scheme, and with all of the injuries they've had, you could say, well, you know what? We can give Todd another year, but he's going to have to change out, offensive coordinators. So we'll see how that plays out. But
since they won the Super Bowl in 2020,
right.
They've been in the playoffs every year.
Right.
They beat the Eagles twice in the playoffs, and that's their only 2 playoff wins. In 22, they lost their first round game, and last year they lost their first round game. They always play NFC East teams on that first round game for some reason.
Seems that way, yeah.
But look, they, is winning the division going to help save him? I don't know. I mean, it might be time for a change anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Well, look, Tony Dungy got let go even after they made the playoffs that year.
Yep.
And so they brought in Gruden because they wanted somebody who was an offensive-minded person. So, it's a business deal, and we know the Glazers, they will make it. They don't mind making a tough decision with regard to getting rid of a coach or holding on to a coach. So let me ask you this. Speculation runs all over the place in Pittsburgh and in Baltimore. Does Harbaugh and Tomlin survive? And I know that's stupid to say because neither of them have been bad coaches. It's just that, you were in Philadelphia with the Andy Reid situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that Andy Reid didn't know how to coach. It's just that at that point in time, the organization, the players, everything had gotten so stale. They'd said, look, we could do this and Andy can keep winning for us, but is that going to be good enough? And they chose the path of no, it's not. And in the end, he went to Kansas City and did well. But by the same token, Eagles have gone on to be well. So sometimes, change your scenery for both teams helps.
Yeah, I think, sorry, Mike Tomlin. Just I was talking to Eckel, who's you can read his stuff on our site there, and he just thinks if they lose, he's probably gonna go. He's been there for a long time. If they win, he might stay, but it might be just time for him to move on and go somewhere. I mean, look, if Tampa gets rid of, if he does go, I mean, maybe he goes there. I mean, there's going to be some interesting job openings here. And, with some high draft picks, some with some
Mm-hmm.
rebuilding. Maybe not some of the greatest organizations in the world, but I think it's going to be interesting to see where he, what he
What
does.
happened? Yeah, I mean the Roonies have been one of the toughest groups of people to fire coaches. They do not fire them. They've had 3 since 1974, I think. No, right, 1969. That's when Noel came in. So since 1969 until now, they've had 3 coaches. I don't know what's going to happen now. Steve Bisciotti, who owns the Ravens, I think that he might. There, Mike Preston wrote a good article in the Baltimore Sun, and Preston has covered the team since they've got here, and he's got incredible contacts, and he thinks that that Lamar Jackson and Harbaugh are not necessarily on the same page anymore. So I don't know if that's going to factor into it.
He may leave. Yeah, I think Echo's written. At least one
What did
story
Mark say?
time for Harbaugh to maybe move as well. I just think after a while, people just they don't want to hear the same voice all the time.
19 years in the same place.
Yeah, you need to new ideas and stuff like that.
Well, the other thing with Mike that I've never figured out is he doesn't like starting rookie quarterbacks. Sometimes he has to, like when he did Kenny Pickett. That was not by design. That was because of injury. So he hasn't been that kind of guy. And how do you develop a quarterback if you don't basically give him a chance? And that's not something Mike has done over his career, which, by the way, includes not having a losing season. So we'll see. I mean, the subplot of this game being that one of these 2 coaches might get fired. You know, as you said, and I agree, it would take about. I don't know that Mike Tomlin or John Harbaugh would be leaving the practice facility before their phone goes off on how many different people wants to hire them.
Yeah,
you don't think the Giants would want one of those 2 guys?
It's just a question of whether they would want the Giants.
That's another point. Yeah, Jackson start not a bad start.
Yeah. There's going to be some. You just look and.
Hell, Pete Carroll might. Pete Carroll's out there. He's he's on his walk here. So
they're going to have the number 1 pick.
Mm-hmm.
They can get if it's even worth it to get a quarterback this year, or maybe trade somebody else.
What's a terrible quarterback class this year?
Correct. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some jobs. The problem with the Raiders job is you're in the division with the Broncos who are on the ascendancy, the Chargers who are on the ascendancy, the Chiefs who the dynasty just ended, but I'm sure they're going to probably do something to get back, and then whatever. But you're in that division, and you might be half decent and still be win 6 or 7 games. So. It's a tough place. There's some, the AFC North right now. I mean, you could probably go there and win some games. So there's going to be, it might be all new coaches. The whole division.
The whole division might go.
North might be new divisions. New coaches and stuff. So, but it's interesting.
Well, since we got you here, and we've got a few more minutes to go, let's talk a little bit of soccer. What's going on in the Premier League, and what are some of the storylines that we should be looking at?
Well, I mean, right now they got this match week has basically been broken down into the teams that played yesterday and then teams that'll play tomorrow. We're in the middle of 4 games. Teams are playing. They played on the weekend. They played today, yesterday, and tomorrow. They will play again on Saturday and Sunday, and then they'll play again Tuesday, Wednesday, and Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I mean, those games the next week are, there's one game Tuesday and there's one game Thursday, and the bulk of the games are Wednesday. But there are some big games. But so it's really interesting right now. The games that are tomorrow. Crystal Palace, Fulham, Liverpool, Leeds, Brentford, Tottenham, Sunderland, Manchester City. No one's, not really barn burner games, but Arsenal is leading right now. They have 45 points. Manchester City, if they beat Sunderland, they'll be on 43 points. Aston Villa just lost to Arsenal after they had beat them at the beginning of the month. They're on 39. Liverpool, Chelsea, Manchester United separated by 2 points for 4th, 5th, and 6th. Manchester United, every time they get a chance to win a game to move up to like 4th, they don't do it. Very frustrating team. Chelsea, of course, won the Club World Cup and now is about to maybe fire their manager because they're all over the place. They should be better than they are, but, they're kind of very tough team. If you're a betting person, a really tough team to bet on because you never know who's going to show up. At the other end, Wolves might be the worst team of all time. They have 3 points through 19 games. So basically now 19 games is halfway through the season. They don't have a win. They've had 3 draws and 16 losses, which is they're on pace to smash the worst record of all time, which is I think 11 points Derby County in 2008.
We got some questions on X for you.
Oh, okay. What do we got?
T-Bone Nation wants to know, Sean, I am also a Manchester United fan. Do we have anything to look forward to this season?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think they're gonna, you could see in the background here, I'm United. It looks like they're going to ship some players out here. Xerxes probably going to go to Roma. Ugarte is probably going to go to Turkey. They have some offers for different people. Kobe Mainu, we'll see if he stays, he goes. The problem with, Amarim is been brutal with some of these selections, and they have so many players hurt right now. When Bruno Fernandes doesn't play, and they just drew 1-1 with Wolves, the worst team of all time. Sesko had 3 or 4 chances. If he scores any of those, they win the game. If he scores 2 or 3 of them, I don't think it's that big of a deal now, and no one's really talking about it. But their big thing is, they got to get to the end of the season. They got to finish somewhere. Top 5 would be so big because that would be Champions League. More than likely, that's going to be a Champions League with all the teams they have in it. Manchester City's and Arsenal probably the 2 favorites to win that Champions League. So, and then the Europa League is going to be Aston Villa and Nottingham Forest. And if Crystal Palace doesn't win that Conference League, it's embarrassing. So, they're going to have 5 teams. If they could get into that next year, they're going to be able to spend like crazy anyway. But there's light, I think. At the end of the tunnel, if they sign, 2 of Baleba, Wharton, and Elliot Anderson, that improves them dramatically. If they find somebody that could score and isn't a donkey, that will improve them dramatically. If they can find somebody, to help out these other guys, I think they'll be in a decent shape next year. They're definitely going in the right direction, but it's just, you're playing against Manchester City, who's, has these 116 charges hanging over them and just keep spending money, and Liverpool spending crazy money, and Chelsea, that guy, you talk about spending money. I mean, Chelsea, I don't know how they're doing it, but they just keep buying players. So
keep on keeping them.
Yeah. Look, he runs the dot. Look, that guy's gonna. People are surprised they keep doing this. I'm like, look, the guy runs the Dodgers, and he's over. He just doesn't care about spending money. He only cares about winning. Like people are like, oh, they're gonna fire this guy. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They should be. They're 15 points off the top. It's crazy.
Got another question from Twitter for you. And this
Okay.
is in the way of T-Bone Nation. This one is from, hang on, Valley of the Dogs, and Valley of the Dogs wants to know, Sean, that they have not ever been to a Premier League game. They are going to England next month. I assume that to be January.
Mhm.
Is it easier to buy tickets online before a game, or should they wait until they get there?
All right. This is a little bit of a
Got
tricky
any hacks
question.
for them here?
So see, here's my you see my my Twitter right here
Yep,
at the
the
prodigal
prodigal
son.
Sean.
So
Yes.
just message me there, and what
Okay.
I'll do is it depends where you're going. If you're going to London to like for a West Ham game,
Yeah.
you could wait. Like I'm a member of Manchester United. I'm going over in
Mm-hmm.
January as well. I'm going to go to uh, Real Madrid, Benfica in
Mm-hmm.
in Lisbon, and then Nottingham Forest, Ferencvaros. I'm going to cover
Mm-hmm.
that, and that's the Europa League. And then I'm going to go to Manchester United, Fulham. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
member of Manchester United, so it's easy for me to get Manchester United tickets. If you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
go to Manchester United, just message me. I'll get you to the right people.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to go to certain teams for certain games, Champions League, stuff like this, sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder. Um, I have connections with multiple clubs, but if you're going to, if you're in London and you're trying to go to a West Ham game, that's going to be a lot easier now. And I liked, people don't like that stadium. If you're down close to the pitch, it's pretty cool. I think, the far, behind the one goal where the visiting supporters sit.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool. You can kind of stand up and walk around. There's this because it's the old Olympic Stadium, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
for
Right.
the Olympic. So there's these giant concourses. You can walk around a little bit
Mm-hmm.
inside the stadium and watch the match and not be like, and you can't do that at Old Trafford. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can't see the pitch if you're in the concourse. But
Well,
just
right now, what he says is that he hasn't made up his mind as to who that he wants to see.
oh,
Uh,
just
he
tell
doesn't.
yeah,
He
just
said
message
he
me on
doesn't
this.
want to see. He doesn't want to see Liverpool. So evidently, he's not a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, no, Liverpool is not. It's the Everton, the new stadium there.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing, this is what I try to do, and I've kind of thought about maybe doing a website about this. I've always want to I try to go when I can fly into London
Mm-hmm.
and maybe see like when I'm flying back, I'm gonna go to those games, I'm gonna come back, and then I'm gonna fly back over, and then I'm gonna come
Mm-hmm.
back. So when I'm flying back out of London, Manchester United just happens to be playing at West Ham. Like I'll go
Right.
to that. But what I'll do is because there's no direct flights now from Newark into Manchester after COVID. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll fly into London and I'll try to fly into London where there's a game there, one of these teams
Mm-hmm.
that you might be able to get a team. And also you got to remember too, there's championship teams, there's League One, there's League Two. So those tickets, you could, Charlton Athletic is in
Right.
London. I've been to games there. So you can always see those as well. So
Mm-hmm.
there's always, if you can plan it where you can see like maybe a game on Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
early and then get on the train and go somewhere else and go see
Mm-hmm.
another game, or even, in London,
Mm-hmm.
go see something else. Like, I'll see that game on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be in Lisbon, then I'll go fly into London and take the train up to Nottingham, see that game, and then take the train to Manchester and go to another game. So
Mm-hmm.
there's enough games and there's enough teams around where you can maybe see like a Friday game in the championship, Saturday, Sunday. So
Mm-hmm.
there's
That'd be
different
interesting.
things to do. Yeah. So just message me on
Mm-hmm.
Twitter, and I can kind of point you in the right direction if once you know where you're going to go.
Once you figure it out, yeah.
Yeah, that's
All right, my friend, we got to get out of here so that
Joe
Joe
Wiz coming up.
can't come on in. Any final thoughts before we take off? We will be back. By the way, this show will be back on Monday. Matthew will be joining us, and we'll have an opportunity to tell you who's been fired and who won at that point.
Fired? Who's in the quarterfinals?
Right,
Who's in the
what's going
semifinals?
on?
Who won the darts? All kinds
right,
of
all the
different
playoffs. It'll be there. But
Yeah, no,
any
it's
final
it's
thoughts
a lot
before
of
we get out of here for
stuff
Joe
going
Wiz?
on.
Yeah.
this week.
And stay tuned for Joe Wiz. He's coming up at the top of the hour, so
That's
we
right.
want you to be able to to see the man, the legend, Joe Wiz. Good guy. All right. Any final thoughts before we get out of here on a, by the way, Happy New Year to everybody. May it be a happy one, a safe one, and a healthy one.
Yeah, no, I just yeah, we're just going to just enjoy the games, and we'll see you again after the new year.
Right. And don't forget to come back and join us. And by the way, we're very likable. So like us, subscribe, and
I'll watch Joe Wiz in a couple minutes because this guy knows, ESPN's own Joe Wiz. 2 years with him on ESPN, so he's got a lot of stuff going on.
Absolutely. So, Joe coming up at the top of the hour at 4:00 Eastern, approximately. So keep an eye out for him, and we'll be back on Monday. Everybody, Happy New Year, safe travels, and enjoy the weekend. Thanks for Sean jumping in and joining us today.
You're welcome.
Okay, buddy. Here we go.